An unforgettable discussion together. I am FemiDlive.
A great talk show unravels your thinking, makes you stop to listen, engages you in a debate of opinions.
I believe this man knows what he is doing. He is a Nigerian.
And ultimately brings you to the king of talk radio, FemiDlive.
It's another amazing day to be here. Welcome to the show. This is The Brief with FemiDlive. So much can't go down today. We've got some extra time to squeeze in some big debates, big stories, all in here right now. The Brief is where I bring you all the details of stories that pretty much run through the week. And I say run through the week from Monday. This week it will have to be from the 17th of August all the way to now, the 22nd of August. What are the stories that you've been keeping track of? What are the stories you need to know? All happening now. Let me share them with you. We'll keep up track with some of those stories where they are now. Now, on Monday, some of the stories that did make wave and did get everybody's attention going was when the three governors identified 3 insurgent strongholds in Borno State. That did start off a major conversation. And yes, there was the Nigerian Airforce as they did deploy 32 special forces to Southern Kaduna. And also that moment, the Inspector General Police did order the arrest of individuals and groups with prohibited firearms. Yes? All right. Well, that did make up a little bit of what the framework for Monday was all about. Then there was also another major point this week when the Ekiti Assembly suspended the council boss over Fayemi's campaign poster. Yeah, it did put the posters about Governor Fayemi running for president. And yes, got suspended for that. There was also that moment this week when Elrufai was disinvited from the Nigerian Bar Association's conference. It described it as unfortunate. He has also reacted with regards to that. Mali was in the news this week as well. So much stories from there as well. Federal government did approve 3.94 billion variation in housing contracts as well. 50 agencies to appear before Senate committee in 5 days. These are just some of the stories I'm able to share with you immediately. I tell you, these are big stories. This is the place to keep track of them. And this is the place where you're about to find out what was said, by who was said, what it was said. I'm FemiDlive, and I can verify these stories as they're produced by the newsroom here in Nigeria Info. So let's get started now. There's so much to cover this very day. This is The Brief with FemiDlive.
Nothing breaks the news like the news. Trust me, I can prove it. I'm ready. Let's take on the biggest debates on radio, provide insights, experience, and build an unforgettable discussion together. I am FemiDlive.
Let's get started now. This week was amazing. It was of good interest. Now, 3 flashpoints have been identified as the stronghold of the Boko Haram insurgents in the northeast now. Now, following a week-long engagement with the service chiefs and all the stakeholders in the region, 3 areas, the Lake Chad fringes, Sambisa Forest, and the Mandara Mountains, all located in Borno State, have been identified as the major strongholds. Well, the engagement which took place on the instance of President Muhammadu Buhari instructing that gentlemen, and all involved in the security sector, the Northeast governors, the security guys, everybody, let us know what is going on. Now, talking about this to reporters in Maiduguri was the governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum. The governor of Borno State. He did talk about the fact that the president has assured the people of Borno State and indeed the northeastern sub-region that he will do everything possible within his reach to ensure that the lives and properties of people living in Borno State are secured. Let's take a listen to the governor now as he described a little bit of that situation. Meanwhile as well, before I miss out on this, the governor said the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukuburu Tai, promised to look into the issue of clearing the enclaves of the insurgency in the 3 flashpoints identified. Listen to Governor Zulum as he speaks upon this.
The President has assured the people of Borno State and indeed the northeastern sub-region that he will do everything possible within his reach to ensure that lives and properties of the people living in Borno State are being secure. Especially we have discussed on the issue of strengthening security in the fringes of the Lake Chad, in the Mantra Mountain as well as in the Sambisa Forest. And I think my meeting with the Chief of Air Staff as well as Chief of Naval Staff and also General Bratai is very promising. I promise to look into the issues of clearing the enclaves of the insurgency in the 3 sites that I have just mentioned. And inshallah, with the renewed commitment of the President and the Service Chief, peace shall reign again in Borno State.
All right, well, there you have it. Governor Zulum of Borno State explaining a little bit of their findings of what would happen next in that very territory. Now, in the meantime, the Nigerian Airforce on Sunday deployed additional 32 special forces to support Operation Safe Haven, being executed by the military to restore normalcy to Southern Kaduna. The Air Force Commanding Air Training Command in Kaduna, Air Vice Marshal Musa Mukhtar, said in Kaduna that the deployment was in response to the directive of the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar. Now, for the NAV to support the ongoing operation, Mukhtar also called on residents to give the military all the necessary cooperation in order to get this done. Take a listen to him this very week.
We will be there as long as it's necessary. And for the figures, it's just a supporting element. For the number, I can't really actually give you the number, but we're supporting Operation Safe Haven there. And if you recall that just a couple of days back, contingent of the DSP Special Forces were also moved to Southern Kaduna. So this is just an element to support them. And my call and appeal to them is to avail us with all privileged information that is really genuine. Well, it's just a matter of just getting the information, we process it as necessary, and find out the true nature of it before we act. But I call on them to please give them the necessary cooperation. They are there to assist the civil populace, not to harm them, and then provide the necessary security that we are supposed to do.
And that was here Vice Marshal Musa Mukhtar there speaking on the Air Force deployment to southern part of Kaduna in order to curb the situation there. Well, the troops deployed include 2 officers, 28 soldiers, and 2 medical staff. They are expected to bring some measure of peace in that area while going after the insurgents and troublers of that very region. Meanwhile, this week in Abuja, it was trending. People were sending social media messages with regards to the current security situation in Abuja. The information which was circulated on social media discouraged residents in life camp areas and its environs from moving along the road at night. The police public relations officer, the FCT, Anjuguri Manza, in a statement on Sunday in Abuja, said the information being circulated was a one-off incident recorded on a road leading to an isolated estate located in life camp over a week ago. According to him, that doesn't represent the current security situation in the axis, and the security has been beefed up around the affected area or this estate, as I would put it down. Now, still with the police now, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has ordered the commissioners of police, not just in Abuja now, in the 36 states now, including the Federal Capital Territory, to identify and arrest any individual or groups in possession of prohibited firearms. Well, the IGP directive comes as part of preparations towards the forthcoming governorship elections in Edo and Ondo State, as well as efforts by the police high command to curb the proliferation of prohibited firearms in the country. Well, the first PRO now, that's Frank Umber, says the IGP ordered the commissioners of police in the 36 states of the Federation and FCT to do all they can to identify, isolate, disarm, arrest and prosecute any individual groups in possession of firearms. And of course, many of you know it is true that you're not allowed to carry firearms within Nigeria. All right, let's move away from security briefly now and talk about politics. And not just talk politics now, talk about the Ondo State governorship election coming up. The All Progressive Congress has told the opposition not to even bother to participate in the forthcoming Ondo State governorship election, saying it is a walkover for them. Well, this would have to be words attributed to the chairman of the APC Ondo State Governorship Election Campaign Council, and who, by the way, is the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Well, he did make this known over the weekend, just this last weekend, when he was addressing newsmen as they inaugurated this council to take charge to support the APC candidate in Ondo State. The APC candidate in Ondo State, by the way, is Rotimi Akeredolu. So they said he has done well, and so much he has done that people would not but pretty much endorse him. He maintained that the whole party, the All Progressive Congress party, is truly behind the endorsement of Rotimi Akeredolu, including the national leader of the party, Bola Tinubu. Take a listen to him describing this all for us.
They really should not waste their time. You know, but election is something that it's not over until it's over. So we're not going to take anybody for granted. We're going for an election, and we're going to be issue-based. We will ensure that we campaign on the platform for the people and for the citizens of Ondo State to see the need whilst they need to continue with the progressive government that they have. He's doing very well. We've seen it, but he knows that he still has the capacity. He has the energy to further advance what he's currently doing. And so that's why we're with him, and we know he will do it. His endorsement was not only his endorsement, it was a collective endorsement. In this endorsement, you saw Senator Borofi, our brother Olushola Oke. You've seen meetings where Kekemeke was in attendance. In Ondo State, they resolved their problems by themselves.
All right, well, that was Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, who is also the chairman of the APC Ondo Governorship Election Council. He's leading the charge, bragging on about how well their candidates, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, will do more for them. Now, earlier this week as well, the NCDC, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, as we easily know them, confirmed that there were 298 new cases of COVID-19 in the country. That was on that Sunday night. Now, the total as at the start of this week, which would make it Monday, was 49,068. Now, of the figure, Plateau State, as at the start of this week, topped the chart, 108 new cases. And Kaduna, that was a Plateau State. Kaduna had 49, Lagos with 47, Ogun State with 18, Osun had 17, 15 in the FCT, Ondo with 14, Edo has 14 as well. What else am I? Oh, yes, Edo had 14, Oyo State at 6, Akwa Ibom and Cross River at 4 each, and then in Borno State it was 3, Ekiti with 2. Then 1 case each was found in the likes of Bauchi, Kano, and River State. So the NCDC, they put the number of discharged patients at 36,497, with 975 deaths on record. That was how the start of this week was pretty much framed as well. Now, still following much of the news this week, there's also that moment when an unnamed student who tested positive for COVID-19 in Gombe State joined others to ride across Nigeria to write the first paper of of this year's West African Senior School Certificate Examination from an isolation center. Well, the male candidate wrote his paper, mathematics, on Monday under the supervision of an invigilator who was fully kitted now in a personal protective equipment. But the development was disclosed by the Gombe State Public Health Emergency Operations Center in a message posted on his Twitter handle. Well, the candidate who was photographed alongside his fully kitted invigilator was simply identified as a final year student of the Government Senior Secondary School, Gombe. So that also did take place this week, in case you missed out on it. Yes, it is true, WAEC is on, and there was so much to follow through with regards to that. 2020 WASC kicked off on Monday across West Africa. Joy Eberebe was on ground. She did make a report of how staff, students, government officials, and the likes of them were reacting to the kickoff of the examination. In fact, she did go around. One of the few places she did visit was the Government Secondary School, Wuse, and then Napo International School, Maitama. they all observed all the measures to prevent the spread of the deadly disease. Now, one of the principals did speak about this. The principal of the government secondary school, Mrs. Esian Okon, said over 200 registered students, the start for the first subject, maths, were scattered across 17 classrooms. She revealed that over 15 cartons of hand sanitizers, thermometers, face masks, among others, were provided by the ministry in order for the examination to be written under safe conditions and, of course, under conditions as permitted by the NCDC. Take a listen to that very interview.
The FCT administration has provided everything that we need in line with the COVID-19 guidelines. We have cartons of sanitizer, up to 20 pieces of infrared thermometers, the hand wash soap. We have the face mask. Of course, in this school, we have up to 10 water stations for the washing of hands. We have qualified teachers in all the schools, not only here. We started lessons 7 a.m.
All right, pretty much of that. And then the principal of NATO International School, Cornelius Dadiben, also stated adequate sanitary provisions were provided for students and social distancing maintained. Take a listen to him now.
At last, our SS3 students started their WAEC exams. Well-spaced classrooms is beyond even the 2 task specification. The government has given us all the guidelines. We've all put in place those things required for the school before reopening. We keep them up to date. All the syllabus are covered. Even when they are away, we keep on teaching them online. For the revision, so it has been quite intensive.
Meanwhile, some of the students also reacted with regards to writing mass first and just doing their exams under these conditions.
Our school has been conducting online classes throughout the 3 months of lockdown, and the 2 weeks was sufficient enough for us to catch up on everything.
We're satisfied with what the school has provided. They've taken the necessary precautions to make sure that we're safe and we don't contract the diseases. Even though there were challenges being at home for almost 5 months, we believe that we're able to come back. We should be prepared and ready for this exam.
All right, ready for this examination. All right, we'll see how that goes. And let's hope the results this year. Well, let's just say they are not jiggy or jaga or jug. I don't know what else to call it, but it's a different year to be writing examinations. Now, Governor Diri of Bayelsa State, let's go into that, right? Well, this week, he filed an appeal on Monday against the ruling of the Bayelsa Election Petition Tribunal by consequently instructing his lawyers to file the necessary papers. He made his intentions known shortly after the tribunal ruled the Independent National Electoral Commission wrongly excluded advanced Nigeria Democratic Party, their own governorship candidate from November 16, 2019 election. The tribunal had also ordered INEC to conduct a fresh election within 90 days. But Governor Diri noted that despite the verdict, he has implicit confidence in the judiciary. It would triumph in the end. The governor, through his acting chief press secretary, Daniel Alabra, urged members of the People's Democratic Party and its supporters not to panic, but to continue to remain calm and law-abiding. Let me walk you through this story. If you do remember this, there was the contest about who is the governor of, who's going to be the governor of Bayelsa State. But down the line, the Supreme Court ruled Governor Diri won that very ruling. Now, one of the things that made him succeed in that was there was a deputy gubernatorial candidate, deputy governor candidate now of the APC that really did put things out of place for that party. So they didn't succeed so much so because of the court ruling. But going down the line, there's another angle to this, which is the angle which Advanced Nigeria Democratic Party did throw in by saying, wait, you can't just exempt us from an election. You just can't put up election papers and not put up a rightful candidate that we registered with you. And that is the new bone of contention now in Bayelsa State. Let's see whether this goes somewhere. Some are saying that some political juggernauts are the one pulling the strings of this party to see how they could even disrupt the ruling of the Supreme Court on this. But I doubt if it really goes so much so far. But we'll see how that goes. Now, on Monday as well, 27 persons were convicted of violating COVID-19 regulations here in Abuja. Reading the charges before the defaulters arrested in Pandan village in Jabi district, the prosecutor, Udeme Umwana said the offense is bordered on violation of dusk to dawn curfew, violation of ban on social gatherings, and violation of compulsory wearing a face mask in the public. While delivering the judgment, Magistrate Idayat Akani awarded a fine of 2,000 naira against each of the 24 defaulters that pleaded guilty with an option of a one-day community service in any of the government facility. The other 3 alleged violators who pleaded not guilty are to appear before Magistrate Court at Wuse Zone 2 on Friday. Now, speaking after hearing the FCT Police Command spokesman Anju Guri Manza said the police will not relent in its efforts to see that the residents are law-abiding. But wait, sorry, I have to break my own speech. I'm trying to understand this. I understand we still have the 4 a.m. or 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. coffee pretty much running in place, or 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. coffee running in place. But then, is it me, or I get shocked when I see courts? I'm not too sure I've run into so many courts like before. There was a frequency at which this was going on before to compel people to wear face masks, but everything went quiet. I just hope I'm not just getting a strange idea about this. But who knows what? Who really knows what? Let's listen to what the spokesperson for the police in the FCT did say.
The FCT Police Command wished to use this medium to reach out to members of the public and also remind them that the order or the regulations on COVID-19, the COVID-19 regulation is very much in place. People should also note that a curfew that starts from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. daily is also in place. Those who operate bars, beer parlor, and the rest should also take note, and also bear in mind the fact that the regulation has not been lifted on the operations of such ventures.
All right, well, that's pretty much on that. Now, on what day was it now? On Tuesday, former President Goodluck Jonathan did visit President Muhammadu Buhari here in Abuja. Well, just to give him a brief regarding the crisis in Mali, calling it a situation that pretty much needs to be resolved quick and fast. He called for dialogue to resolve the problem there. Jonathan was accompanied by members of the Economic Community of West African States mission to Mali. According to the special advisor to the President of Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, he said the former president added that the Constitutional Court had been reconstituted and inaugurated, while vacancies in the Supreme Court had been filled, thus sorting out the judicial arm of the government. President Buhari thanked Jonathan for what he called the stamina displayed on the Mali issue. Now, many of you remember the Mali issue is now a fluid situation as pretty much we have a coup state effort. The soldiers have not given up the power or authority. We're still waiting. ECOWAS did come down on them heavily with the idea of sanctions, with the idea of limiting what Mali will be able to do within the ECOWAS regions in the meantime around all this. Okay, that clears that up. After the break, let's talk about Nigeria's debt. This was clearly spoken of by the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, and the officers of the Debt Management Office just this week. Stay with us. I'll be back after this break.
Nothing breaks the news like the news. Trust me, I can prove it. I'm ready. Let's take on the biggest debates on radio, provide insights, experience, and build an unforgettable discussion together. I am FemiDlive.
Talk show unravels your thinking, makes you stop to listen, engages you in a debate of opinions.
I believe this man knows what he is doing. He is a Nigerian.
And ultimately brings you to the king of talk radio, FemiDlive.
Welcome back to the show this very morning as we continue to take you through the stories that really have made waves this week. I'm FemiDlive, and yes, this is the brief with FemiDlive. So much to cover, so many stories, I tell you. I think about it and I try to juggle what stories should I share with you, and sometimes you'll be surprised how much of news breaks itself over and over again. What that means is that just when you think this is a breaking news, some other story is around to break it all off and break it in a new direction. Let's talk about some of the very stories now that would possibly extend into next week now. One of them is about money that Nigeria has or would need to have. Well, the absence of the Minister of Finance, Zainab Ahmed, and officials from the Debt Management Office have stalled public hearing by the House of Representatives Committee on Treaties and Protocols by 1 week. Now, speaking during the resumption of the hearing on Tuesday, Chairman of the committee, Nicholas Osai, wondered why the minister and officials from the DBO were not in attendance. Before a motion was moved for the adjournment, Osai argued that the lawmakers can interrogate the agencies in their absence. He thereafter asked colleagues to deliberate on the matter, suggesting they adjourn by just 1 week. Now, still with the House of Representatives, a minority caucus has rejected the 30 job slots allotted to each lawmaker for their respective local government areas in the recruitment exercise for the federal government's public works scheme. Yes, I know. You wonder which exercise. Well, that's the exercise with 774,000 people to be recruited for a period of 3 months. In fact, we've argued about this for almost 3 months for a job that's supposed to last 3 months. Oh boy. Well, the minority leader, Elemelu, made their position known in a statement on Tuesday in Abuja. Elemelu described the allotment of 30 out of 1,000 slots per local government to each member of the House as grossly unfair and unacceptable. He further alleged that the formula used was in favor of certain interests in the ruling All Progressive Congress at the detriment and disadvantage of majority of Nigerians. Elemelu insisted that the allotment cannot, by any criteria, said to be a true representation of people that are mandated to be represented. Oh boy, oh dear. Well, we're still on. Let's hope we're going to continue to. How did this go from a federal government program to a House of Representative lawmaker, I choose you, I like you, I don't like you program? I don't know. I'm just asking the obvious question now. A CSO known as the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room has called on the Independent National Electoral Commission to ensure that its newly introduced election results portal is transparent, is effective, and efficient. Yes, there's a portal of such, a result portal that will be introduced. INEC on Tuesday, they urged INEC on Tuesday to map out punitive measures for election stakeholders that flout its COVID-19 guidelines. The co-conveners of the CSO, who jointly signed the statement, Clement Nwakwa and Esther Uzoma, said they were concerned about the rhetoric and isolated incidents of violence in Edo State ahead of the September 19 election. Let's take a listen to their own perspective to this as well as we take this on. Well, interesting thoughts from the CSOs, but the election is a source of concern that's just not going away.
Situation calls the Nigerian government should genuinely seek to implement measures that restores citizens' confidence in its ability to govern. Repeatedly, citizens groups, the National Assembly, state governors have called for attention to be paid to the nature and leadership of our security services, and the president has not done so. We call on the president to respect the Constitution, to ensure that security chiefs who have exceeded their terms of office are allowed to go.
All right, well, that's another point that derives in that very conversation. Let's talk about money a little bit more. The federal government hopes to have a budget expenditure framework projected at 12.658 trillion naira for the 2020 fiscal year. That's the plan. Well, this was contained in the last economic outlook by the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. The document signed by the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Ahmed Zainab, indicated that the figure represented a 17.2% increase of the revised 10.8 trillion 2020 budget. The aggregate revenue available for the budget for the next year is projected at 7.498 trillion naira, while the aggregate expenditure level is projected to be 12.658 trillion naira. On the other hand, the aggregate expenditure made up of the statutory transfer is supposed to be 481.41 billion naira. Debt servicing will run into trillions. That's about 3.124 trillion naira next year. And then there's something called sinking fund. That'll be 220 billion naira. as well. Well, that's that, and that tells you a little bit of how the economy would work out on paper as projected by the federal government for next year. Meanwhile, congratulations to Joe Biden. He's been officially nominated the Democratic presidential candidate of the United States, the DNC party, Democrats as we usually call them. They made Joe Biden their leading candidate. The likes of Bill Clinton, Jimmy Carter, and former Secretary Colin Powell, by the way, who's a Republican, endorsed Biden. Clinton said President Donald Trump has brought chaos on the Oval Office. Trump trails Biden in the opinion polls ahead of November election. And the former vice president to Barack Obama became the party nominee on Tuesday night. So much can be said. Everybody seems to have rallied around Joe Biden to get that ticket in the United States. So just I have to mention that there was a major story this same week as well. Let's move on now and talk about... Now, the Minister of Information was out in the news this week. He was talking about the initiatives that will provide succor to the creative industry post-COVID-19. Minister Mohammed stated this on Tuesday during a virtual inauguration of a committee set up by the federal government on the implementation of post-COVID-19 initiatives for the creative industry. Mohammed said the committee will be saddled with responsibility of designing a workable framework to get this done. Let's take a listen to how the Minister of Information shared his own disposition with regards to this just this week. Take a listen for yourself.
I have no doubt that this implementation committee will approach its assignment with a great sense of duty, realizing that the development and growth of the creative industry, which is the second biggest job creator after agriculture, rests on their shoulders.
Okay, that was him. Now, Segun Rusewe, who is the Director General of the National Council of Arts and Chairman of the committee, promised to do a thorough job at it. Yeah, and by the way, the committee is made up of the likes of ace comedian Ali Baba, Anita Ebo Igbe Babagba, and Joe Muta. Take a listen to a little bit of what Segun Rusewe did speak up after the committee was inaugurated.
And for us as a nation, the Honourable Minister has woken up the consciousness in us to see what this sector can contribute. And I can also say it here that this champion and boost the wealth of every individual in a nation like ours.
All right, well, that clears that up now. Now, there's a forum you need to know about. There's a forum called the Nigerian Commissioners for Health Forum. It has called on the immediate release of funds to state governments to contain the potential spread of the deadly COVID-19 pandemic. Well, the acting chairman of the forum and Commissioner of Health in Cross River State, Dr. Betta Edu, gave the charge while briefing journalists on Tuesday in Abuja. Dr. Edu said federal government's funding to states will aid the establishment of more isolation centers, speed up contact tracing, procurement of more testing kits, treatment as well as management of the disease in the country. Take a listen to how she put up what is expected of the federal government to do for the state's government at this very difficult time.
We were very happy when the PTF announced that they would be supporting states with close to 2.1 billion to get the COVID-19 response really running back across the states. This is very important, and we believe that the release of this funding should be done almost immediately if they have not started. This is because states are at their wit's end.
All right, well, that was that. And by the way, she's also saying that, well, beyond the COVID-19 period, it will allow us to have a very robust, a chance to build up a robust public health system that will be able to fight off any form of disease if this comes up again.
If we have a functional system, it will reduce the effects of whatever pandemic or epidemic or outbreak in future on the lives of Nigerians. And so we're pushing for a situation where we can have a strong public health response system.
All right, well, and there's one controversy that was hanging in the balance. You know, there were talks about Cross River State Governor Ben Ayade, Professor Ayade, preventing residents in Cross River State from getting tested in order to keep the number of cases on the down low. But hey, she says it's not true.
At no time did the government or the governor refuse that people should not be tested in Cross River State. As early as March we have videos, we have newspaper publications calling on NCDC to come and set up a lab in Cross River State. And at no time did we prevent them from coming in to set up labs and ensure that people can have where they can go for testing.
Okay, so that clears it up. At no time did we prevent them from setting up labs to carry out testing. Okay, so ECOWAS matter is back on the page again. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Oyema, talked about the need to intervene over the reoccurring attacks on Nigerian traders in Ghana. Yes, this is not funny at all. It's so sad, if not annoying, that this is taking place. He was speaking about this, and he said he's in touch with ECOWAS to know their perspective on the situation, and if the Ghanaian retail code was in contravention to ECOWAS protocol. I hope Ghanaians don't put this in a very, very difficult situation to every one of us. I just don't understand things anymore.
This has been a recurring decimal or whatever, but it's been recurring. Now, the first step we want to take is to be sure about all the facts. So this will entail hearing from Ghanaian government, the Minister of Trade. Our Minister of Trade is going to engage with his counterpart. We have the intention of recalling our charge d'affaires in Ghana to get the facts, because he's on the ground.
All right, he's on the ground. Okay. Let's see how that goes. Let's touch on another set of stories very quickly now. As at Wednesday. Okay, no, that will be Friday. Let me see. Okay, but there were new numbers that did come out this week as well to describe the NCD. Okay, I don't want to go through numbers again. Let me just go straight into what President Muhammadu Buhari did call for. He called for the immediate restoration of democratic rule in Mali. He also called for combining efforts towards ensuring the restoration of democratic rule and the release of political prisoners. Let's take a listen to how that conversation did go just this week. Just listen to this.
We need to isolate series of sanctions regimes that can create and sustain sufficient pressure on the military to force a return to constitutional governance. The critical issues for resolution in the Malian crisis had been aptly captured as a 4-point pathway to peace. Within that context, and if all parties to the crisis were to abide by those recommendations, the developments now on ground would have been avoided.
All right, if you're just tuning in, this is the place where we bring you the brief of all the major news stories throughout the week. I'm FemiDlive, and yes, this is the brief with FemiDlive. Oh yes, so much can be said about the stories. There are stories we can verify here as we continue. Now, did you know that the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development is just 1 year old? Now, I tell you this, there was donating of relief materials done in IDP camps in Wassa and Apo district of the FCT as part of way to mark this very 1 year of interesting and intensified efforts at getting the job done. Well, they're thinking of effective strategies to see how things will go and, see how things would possibly play out. Now, Minister Sadiya Umar Farouk, who is the Minister of That Affairs, was represented by a director of the ministry, Grema Ali, during these donations and talked about all the things they are thinking of doing in the days to come to make sure that the ministry is as effective as they need it to be.
We are celebrating our 1 year anniversary for the ministration of the ministry. Yeah. The minister felt she cannot celebrate that 1 year without people of concern and the IDPs. Yeah. Hence, she chose WhatsApp IDP camp to come and celebrate. In that celebration, she brought some foodstuffs, blankets, bed sheets, wrappers, oil, rice, beans for them to enjoy their 1 year anniversary.
Okay, that clears that up now. What else now? Yes, another story of interest. 2 of the 3 suspected killers of the Nigerian first female helicopter fighter pilot, flying officer Tulokwe Arotile, have been set free by a magistrate court sitting in Kaduna State. The court on Thursday, however, charged the suspects who drove the car that killed Arotile of culpable homicide and criminal conspiracy in the state high court, but not punished with that. Well, in the ruling, Magistrate Benjamin Arson discharged second and third suspects for Lawrence Fate and Baye Gundeji based on the police investigation. We did not find them wanting. However, Nehemiah Adejo was in the spotlight for this. Let's see how this really pans out. Moving on to another story of interest. Nigerian Customs Service has appealed to the National Assembly and the federal government to lift tax waivers on local companies producing carbonated drinks. I'll take that again so that comprehension can go alongside with what I just said. They've asked the federal government to lift tax waivers. That means they want them to pay. Okay. On local companies producing carbonated drinks. Customs Controller General retired Colonel Ahmed Ali made a call on Thursday while addressing the Senate Joint Committee on Finance and National Planning on the projection of the 2021 to 2023 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. He also said the government to clamp down on unnecessary issuance of duty waivers in order to boost revenue generation. The Customs CG wondered why companies like Coca-Cola do not pay taxes in Nigeria when they do in other countries that have operations. Wait, I didn't just say that. You would hear him literally explaining his reasoning on this issue. Okay, this should be an interesting one. Take a listen for yourself.
Carbonated drinks are also injurious to our health because of the content of sugar. And if alcohol and cigarette can be taxed, they too should be taxed. And so we have been pushing for the exercising of these industries so that we can collect excise duty from there. Like I said, gradually the import will be reduced, the collection on import will reduce because of the trade agreements we have signed.
Okay. That was retired Colonel Ahmed Ali, the custom boss there. We're responding to this. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, who declared the public hearing open, expressed shock over the revelation.
This is not going to be an executive function alone. We need to work together, the executive and the legislation, to see those that really are supposed to be given some exemption. Because I can't understand if we are giving Coca-Cola a free ride, then, how that is undermining our economy. This is an established business all over the world, and it's a dominant business in the soft drink industry.
All right. Well, that's that. The Commissioner of Finance for ECOWAS Commission was speaking about the crisis in Mali as well this week.
The ECOWAS is on top of the beat when it comes to all aspects of integration, be it security, be it political, be it economic. We have different departments that deal with all these issues, and none is lacking. As you know, one of the key agenda of ECOWAS is economic integration, and the most important aspect of this is interregional trade, and that is what ECOWAS is working on. The Vision 2050 is meant to address that, so that we can increase the percentage of inter-community trade amongst us.
And by the way, the Minister of State, you heard me right, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Zubairu Dada, also said a few things about the aspiration that ECOWAS can only start to reach for here across the region, the West African region.
The achievement of these objectives, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, requires commitment and dedication from you, participants, especially the resources. It is expected that this workshop will be consultative, participatory, and forward-thinking, as the outcome of this workshop will be communicated to the ECOWAS Commission as Nigeria's solution. The transformation of the ECOWAS from ECOWAS of states to ECOWAS of the people is non-negotiable. Consequently, emphasis should be directed towards regional projects that will have direct impacts on the people of the community.
And yes, in Oyo State, the government there is worried about floods. And yes, it's telling its people there, watch out for the Elemelu Dam. Be careful, because Nimet is saying there'll be more rains this year. We're speaking on behalf of the Oshu State government. The Secretary to the State government, Olubanwo Adeoshu, explains.
We are required now, more than ever before, to clear our surroundings and street drainage channels. We need to avoid dumping waste improperly. We need to ensure that each household keeps a dustbin and patronizes government-approved waste disposal contractors.
All right, that clears that up with regards to all that. Now, Kaduna State Governor Nigeria Airforce says he's not deterred by the decision of the Nigerian Bar Association to remove him as one of the speakers for the body's 2020 conference. The NBA had, following a petition against the governor by some lawyers due to security issues in Kaduna, pulled off Elrufai's name as a speaker in the event scheduled to hold virtually from the 21st of August to 26th of August 2020. But a statement on behalf of the governor, special advisor to the former minister, Iwadike, said as principal will continue to speak on matters of national importance. While the NBA has the right to determine who speaks at this event, Elrufai says he did not seek the lawyer's platform and do not see the development as enough reason to be agitated. Elrufai believes with happenings in the lead up to the NBA's decision, there's a need to clear up the air, just as he accused the lawyer's body of following what he described as a one-sided narrative. Oh, okay, we'll see how that goes. Minister of Aviation now. Let's talk about aviation. Hadi Sirika now says the country will apply the principle of reciprocity as Nigeria prepares to resume international flight. While speaking at the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 daily briefing on Thursday in Abuja, the minister explained that this principle meant that carriers from all countries that banned flights from Nigeria would also not be allowed to fly into Nigeria. Spreaker was represented at the briefing by the Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Musa Nuhu. Was speaking on the preparation for the international flights resumption. Spreaker said they are almost there. Just a few things to be done, but then they'll be ready in a few days. A few days from now, we expect the international flights will start to go around. That's August 29. Now, in the fight against Boko Haram, the military says 8 Boko Haram fighters were neutralized after troops of Operation Lafia Dole foiled a terrorist attack at Kukawa town in Borno State. The coordinator of the Defense Media Operations, Major General John Eneche, stated this on Thursday in Abuja while addressing a news conference that said 2 other soldiers had sustained injuries have been treated at a military medical station. Take a listen to how he explains the efforts of the military thus far. Here we go.
The reinvigorated and reviewed strategy is working. You will see us now picking them one after the other according to their pockets. You will discover that the summary of all these series of operations by the land component are more or less like piecemeal, fanning out from the super camp or the other camps that are appendages of the super camps. I say this because a lot of people began to wonder, how is it working? If you keep taking out 2, 3 in their pockets as they come out for their criminality, it makes a whole lot. You have told that there are pockets of reactions here on the side of the criminals. That is what you are seeing. The road still remains open. The task given to us by the CNC is still in focus, and we will continue to be on it.
All right, we'll be on it. Meanwhile, in Ekiti State, this is interesting. The chairman of Ikere local government area of Ekiti State, Femi Ayodele, has been suspended for alleged unauthorized presidential campaign poster for Governor Kayode Fayemi. Ayodele was suspended on Friday by the Ekiti State House of Assembly in a session presided over by the Speaker, Fumi Niyi Afuye. The decision followed a motion sponsored by the majority leader of the Assembly, Boyega Aribisogun. The suspended council boards had sponsored campaign posters canvassing for Governor Fayemi to contest as a presidential candidate under the platform of the All Progressive Congress in 2023. All right, that's interesting to know. Another story now as I start to round off. The story about immigration, migrants into the country. Federal Airport Authority now of Nigeria has revised the quarantine protocols for international flight passengers ahead of the commencement of international flights on the 29th of August. Speaking on this, General Manager Public Affairs Ereta Yakubu in Abuja explained new protocol will have the international passengers coming into Nigeria cleared through immigration, migrants identification and data analysis system. That sounds like a mouthful. Let's hear us say the same thing. Okay, not so much so. Just listen up.
The new reverse protocol is that passengers will be cleared through the Nigerian Immigration Services System, Migrant Identification and Data Analysis System, and their passports will retain until after successful completion of 14 days self-quarantine, either as evacuees or as stranded Nigerians. When they come into the country, they are expected to self-isolate for 14 days, and this will be at their own expense, not at the expense of the federal government. So if you are not resident in Lagos and your flight brings you to Lagos, it is expected that you must make arrangements for accommodation at your own cost for 14 days, and that your passport will be kept with the immigration at the airport until after these 14 days, and then you are tested for COVID-19 and it's negative, you cannot come back to the airport to pick up your passport.
All right. Well, I don't want to miss out on this set of stories as well. The sum of 3.94 billion naira has been approved as revised estimates for 5 existing contracts in 5 states of the Federation. This was discussed on Wednesday by the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja. Fashola said 5 contracts are secretariats in Bayelsa, Zamfara, Osun, Nasarawa, and Anambra states.
Cost of materials have altered significantly since 2011.